Welcome back to Barcelona, hosting the PokerStars Championship. It is the final table of the main event. 5 players remaining, competing for the first prize of 1.4 million euros. Andre Akari has the slight chip lead, but A, it's pretty close. B, it's pretty shallow right now. It's James Hartigan alongside Joe Stapleton.
Welcome back, my babies.
We're also joined by Jamie Staples from Team PokerStars Pro Online.
Great to be here, guys.
Cards in the air once again.
So just to go back to what we were talking about before, the ante being 50,000, the cost to play per hand is now the entire starting chip stack.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at, if you broke it down into dollars, about 8,000 euro is the ante.
Jeez.
It's a big spot.
So remember, we're going to see every single hand cards up as we play down towards a champion. This is hand 27 of the final table, and action has been folded to Rafael Sorrentino in the small blind. Just to recap, Sorrentino won the championship event in Monte Carlo earlier this year. He's looking to win 2 in a single year. 2 out of 3 that have run since May.
Electing to raise it up in the small blind instead of limping, which I think makes some sense with the A7. Now Petkov only has 500,000 to call. In position, you can play a lot of hands here, even a hand as weak as 7-6 offsuit.
Kind of irritating that 7-6 is dominated in this spot, but
not ideal.
Lachazar Petkov is the player in the big blind. Currently 3rd in chips. Petkov is from Bulgaria, 26 years old. He's won more than $200,000 in live tournaments. He's guaranteed more than 300K today. 3rd place pays 317,960 euros. The payouts running along the bottom of your screen right now. Sorrentino with top pair. He has paired his ace. He is continuing. And nothing really for Petkov to be excited about here. Jamie, he folds.
nothing for him to get in trouble over either. You got to look at the glass being half full in these situations. I don't have to call.
It's going to be a really interesting dynamic. The chip stacks are so close together here.
And also, as we mentioned at the start of the level, pretty shallow. I know that it sounds like a lot of chips when we talk about 10 million, 9 million, but in reality, when you compare that to the size of the blinds right now, they're not deep stacked. There's not a lot of play in this thing. I would be really surprised if we can make it through the first half of this 75-minute level without losing 1, if not 2 players. Remember, if you want to get in touch with the booth, the hashtag to use on Twitter is PokerStarsTV. The Undersea Monkey says it's impossible to root for anyone other than Andre Akari here. Ship it. Well, it is possible. I mean, all of these guys have great stories.
I disagree, yeah. And I think that it is quite possible to root for Andre Akari. However, you got Sorrentino going for the double. Petkov, who's already made more today than he has his entire lifetime. And Sebastian Sorensen, guy works in a warehouse. How can you not want that dude to walk out of here with 1.4 million euro?
Well, this happened during the last level. We've only caught one of Rafael Sorrentino's hole cards. We know he has the 3 of spades. We can see both of Andre Akari's, though. Jack 4 of clubs. Sorrentino has raised the button.
I really don't want Sorensen to quit his job, though, just yet, because I ordered a bunch of stuff on Prime yesterday, and I don't want that to get slowed down.
Is this a hand you'd be defending with, Jamie?
I think so. Something to think about, which makes it kind of tough, is everyone's tied. So getting mixed in with a marginal hand can be avoided.
Well, this is one way to play it, isn't it? To re-raise 1.9 million.
In the words of Barney Stinson, suit up. Gotta play those suited cards.
Perhaps Akari is picking up on the situation here, knowing that everyone's equal. If he can get a little lead going, he could really take control of this table. There's 1.1 million euros or thereabouts difference between 5th place and 1st place. Getting the lead is worth a lot.
So it's a mini sweat with hand. I'm kind of playing this from Andre's perspective, but we do know one of Sorrentino's cards. And with these stack sizes, even if you're in position, it's hard to just call a 3-bet.
Especially with the 3 of spades showing. There's not very many hands that could justify the call there. Maybe ace 3 of spades exactly. Other than that.
Vamos.
Now, of course, this isn't the only tournament taking place at Casino Barcelona today. There is also the 10,000 euro buy-in high roller, where they are down to 22 players. If you want to follow hands from that tournament, check out the live updates via the PokerStarsblog.com as we stick with the final table of the main event, competing for the championship trophy. And still most of the 8.15 million euro prize pool up for grabs.
So many interesting little stories on the PokerStars blog. When I first was getting into poker, I remember reading, you know, updates throughout the whole series of these events, and checking out like who won this side event and what were the hands, what were the details.
If you are the true poker fan and you want to know what's happening at all the other tournaments, these are festivals. The main event is the crown jewel, but what are the 30 other tournaments sometimes?
There's a lot of tournaments, and we should reiterate that our friend and colleague, Jamie Staples, won one of those tournaments just the other day. It was the 550 euro pot limit Omaha event.
It was, yeah.
22,000 euros?
Yes.
Plus, of course, that lovely shiny trophy.
My first spade. I'm pumped up. Thanks, man.
Did you get any 500 euro notes?
No, I just put it straight into account, actually.
That's
Didn't take any cash.
That's the smart move. They're pretty cool to look. I got to touch one once. 500 euro note. Pretty sweet.
Well, now we're missing one of Petkov's hands. One of his cards, rather. Just a reminder, there are no cameras in the tables. It's all done by scanners. There are small microchips in the cards, and then the scanners under the table read the cards. Unfortunately, if the players don't have their cards perfectly side by side in the box, we can miss information, and that's what's happened here with Petkov. But the hand is over. It was raise and take it. We move on to hand number 30 of this final table.
So I got paid in a 500 euro note one time for a gig I did in Monaco. And I said, you know what, I'm going to hold on to this for as long as I can because I just want to savor this 500 euro note. And when I went to check out of my hotel room, my room service bill was 800 euros. So I had to give over the note and then also put the rest on a credit card. It lasted about one day.
Monte Carlo, dude. Story checks out.
I'm a real dunce.
Sorrentino first to speak here. He folds from under the gun. Well, we can see both of Petkov's cards this time. Ace-8.
Definitely a strong enough hand to make some moves with. Bringing it in for a raise. Action on Andre Akari on the button.
King 6 of diamonds. And again, something we drew reference to during the second half of the first session of the day is the fact that obviously the action we're watching on screen happened an hour ago. We're commentating an hour after it happened. We're in the same time zone as the audience. But the players will be getting information from their friends. They'll be hearing stuff about what happened earlier on in the tournament, and they'll be utilizing that information to change their style of play. It's been quite tight, it's been quite cagey, so chances are we're going to see things like this. Andre Akari capitalizing on the fact that people aren't willing to take big risks. However, when someone wakes up in the small blind with queens, they are going to play a hand.
Lady Kings.
This re-raise, for example, may have got Petkov to fold the ace-8. We don't know. We probably will never know, because Sorensen's going to get busy here.
This is just a spot where Sorensen wants to shove. It's scary because you can run into it. Akari already shown some aggression, saying, I have a good hand, I'm going to re-raise. But of course, Queen's just so strong. Want to take down that 3 million sitting in the pot right now.
Jamie, when it's 3 bets and it gets to you and you have queens, are you thrilled that there's so much money in the pot, or are you like a little worried that there's already been a 3-bet and that maybe you're going to have to take a big flip or be up against aces or kings?
I'm about 82% pumped up.
Okay.
And then 18% like preparing for puke.
Did you guys see how he did that math? He did 88 and 12. What was it?
82, yeah.
So this is a re-raise from Sorensen, but not an all-in. He's made it 3,375,000. Petkov's out, and I guess Andre's got to kind of make this look good and then get away from the king-6.
Well, here's the thing with the re-raise instead of the shove, is that Sorensen would have to call off against a shove, which he really doesn't want to do against a hand like ace-king. Whereas if he shoved the queens, ace-king probably has to fold given all these other stacks, which is crazy but true. So I like the shove in this situation. No matter what happens, I think Akari's probably going to get away here.
It's that classic cliche, Jamie, that you want to be the person getting your chips in. No one wants to call all in.
Absolutely, especially at final tables.
Especially with king-6. But especially at final tables.
So Andre will just count to 30 in his head. And no doubt let the king-6 go.
What if he shoves, though?
I don't think Sorensen would fold, and I don't think Andre's going to risk it. Sure enough, he lets it go.
If it was 2009, we might have seen a shove there. Poker has evolved.
It's a game that is constantly changing, that's for sure.
People do lose their minds sometimes, and I saw Andre lose his mind in a big spot on Shark Cage.
And confirmation that Sorensen is the man in front, but not by much. 12.43 million, that's 41 big blinds. Andre Akari now second in chips with 32 big blinds.
I just love how everyone's taking their time at the top, at the bottom, in the middle, jockeying for position. It's like a steeplechase.
That's the thing, isn't it? Everyone's waiting for some carnage. And if we have a big hand where there's all of a sudden a short stack or someone busts, it could really break out into a lot more aggressive action.
Petkov raising with a pair of 4s.
I think Petkov's the only player at the table who hasn't been chip leader at some point, at least today.
625,000. Akari, Sorensen, and Kaufman have all folded. Sorrentino has 8-5 of spades in the small blind. Sorry, the big blind.
Can make some things. Couple spades. Little gut shots, open enders. I like it.
Two seemingly evenly matched hands before the flop.
Ace 9-9.
So Petkov having the best hand here with pocket 4s. Sees a flop that's really good to continuation bet, and I like it. Obviously, 4s, it's kind of difficult to get a worse hand to call from your opponent, but it's really nice to get a hand like Queen-Jack to just fold on the flop and not have to, worry about a bad card coming off on the turn of the river. If I was Petkov, I'd throw out a little 1/4, 1/3 of the pot bet here. 500K.
Well, 425,000 was the bet, but before the dealer had even had a chance to announce it or verify it, Sorrentino had folded.
And one small pot. Petkov goes from being second shortest in chips to second biggest.
Yeah, and we're going to see those swings with the blinds this big and the stack so shallow. Still 60 minutes to run at 150,000, 300,000. The next level, which will follow immediately on, there'll be no break at the end of level 34. We'll roll into the first of the 60-minute levels, 200,000, 400,000, with a 50,000 ante.
What'll be interesting to see is, are there going to be any deal discussions as the stacks get a little bit shorter here? I mean, there's a lot of money to play for with not a lot of poker left.
Yeah, and this is something that's important to reiterate, that remember, it's the player's money. That prize pool is made up of all of those 5,000 euro buy-ins. So even though the payouts are decided by the tournament staff, oh, kings for Kaufman. The players may decide that they don't like those big money jumps, and they may look at redistributing the prize pool. And as long as all the remaining players agree to that, the tournament staff will sign off on it. I don't think we've ever seen 5 players try to negotiate a deal. We've seen 4-handed negotiations, which inevitably go wrong. Most commonly, it's either the final 3 or the final 2.
This is potential for a big hand here. Jack-10 of hearts, my favorite hand. I just think it's beautiful. And the pocket kings, powerhouse.
It's a fun hand to try to crack a big pocket pair with.
Let's get something out there. Maybe 9-8 of hearts action.
Ace, queen, deuce. So Petkov, the gut shot straight draw. Kaufman still way ahead with the kings.
So Kaufman can go either way here. The ace is a pretty bad card for the kings. That's a beautiful turn. And
Kings got this locked up.
Yeah, they're doing pretty well. And the reason that's a good turn for Kaufman is that when another ace comes out, even though it's another scary card, it makes it less likely your opponent has an ace, because there's 2 out there, so there's only 2 left. So it cuts down on the combinations of aces our opponents can have.
Petkov checks a second time. He is now drawing dead. Can't hit any card on the river to win this outright.
Okay, playing it pretty slow.
Continuing to slow play, checks it back a second time.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, I know Daniel thinks it's broke, but from his perspective, he's doing fine.
There were a couple of hands during that first session where Daniel Negreanu felt Kaufman was missing out on value. Do you think he should have bet the turn there, Jamie?
I think I'm with him on this one. Yeah, I think that, let's put ourselves in Petkov's shoes. If they have a queen, they're not folding to a turn bet. They might even pay off a river bet, so I think it's a good option.
Well, Petkov has now checked for a third time. Kaufman surely isn't going to check back again. This is last chance for value.
James, you know how I feel about you calling me Shirley.
You love it.
I do love it. Please call me Shirley more often.
There we go. Kaufman bets 1.3 million, and Petkov folds.
It had so much potential, and it just fizzled. The ace on the flop.
Well, that's what happened on the Jack's hand, and I think if you guys are wondering why Jamie Staples replaced Daniel in the booth, it's because Daniel said if all the money doesn't go in here, I'm going to quit commentary. So it's been nice knowing you, Daniel, and we look forward to seeing whatever career you take on next.
Daniel will be back later on. As we continue to play 5-handed at the final table of the PokerStars Championship Barcelona main event. Final 5 players from a starting field of 1,682.
What happened was the president of poker refused Daniel's resignation. You're too important to this game, Negreanu. And then he took out a lighter in the shape of a PokerStars red spade and torched his resignation letter.
Kaufman has raised here with Jack-8. Everyone bar Andre Akari has folded. Andre in the big blind.
Queen 9 offsuit, usually going to be good enough here. It's really cheap. Gets one opponent. And happens to have the lead in this situation right now.
Not anymore. A pair of jacks for Kaufman.
So Akari has a spot where it's a difficult hand to continue with. It's like one of those hands where it looks like you should continue, but you just missed it a bit too much.
Check, check on the flop. 3 of clubs on the turn. The board just gets better for Kaufman. He now has a flush draw to go with his pair of jacks.
That 5% not doing so well. This is...
Brian.
It's a good spot to bet.
Brian.
Again with the check back.
Brian.
The crazy thing is, he might be getting the most money out of his hands just the way it's worked out here. Because giving Akari another opportunity to bet.
Brian.
So once again, for the second hand in a row, he waits until the river to bet and gets a fold from his opponent.
I mean, the kid's running good, but he's running even better in that, like, these players are somehow not running him down.
Right.
Like, how often do you slow play a hand in a spot where, like, it's probably kind of okay to slow play it, and then you're like, I wish I didn't. Why did I do that? Comes runner, runner, straight, spade. You know, like spade, spade, straight card, straight card. And you're like, why'd you do this again? And he's just like, nah, check, check, win, check, win.
So we're starting to see a bit more difference now looking at those chip stacks. 12 million up top and 7.6 million is the shortest stack in Sorrentino. Some different dynamics now.
Petkov has the button. 7-6 of hearts.
Definitely a hand you're going to want to raise here. It does look a little bit prettier than it actually is because the stacks are short, so it's not as valuable to make straights and flushes. Pairs are more valuable at these short stack sizes. Nevertheless, definitely a raise.
Sebastian Sorensen
What's the bet?
with Queen 4 of clubs.
He's at least defending.
Really small raise here, just over a min raise. I think so.
Spade Up on Twitch says, Staples a natural on the commentary. Thank you. Oh, wait.
Okay.
He means you.
I know, the universe is colliding with Stapes and Staples in the same room, on the same stream.
I just can't wait till Team Online adds a guy named Hardigalin.
King 5-3 on the flop. So Queen High still good. Metcalf with the inside straight draw.
Still a tough one to win here for the Queen 4. If Petkov decides to continue betting, which is a good strategy, it's pretty frisky to continue with the Queen High. I don't know about it.
This, to me, I'm a pessimistic poker player, but when I flop this, I'm like, I got a flush draw, and I got a straight draw.
On the turn, you mean?
Right.
Right.
This is one of those situations where you tell yourself, you go, well, there's lots of good turns for me.
Well, Petkov has continued for 525,000.
And there are a few good turns, but
Yeah,
you're going to
you're
need
not
good
joking,
turn,
absolutely.
and the river is the problem.
A deuce, a 6, a 7, a club, a queen, 4.
He
Gives you
doesn't
some
know the
stuff.
4 is bad, but
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you, in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
you think a 4 is good for you.
A fold from Sorensen.
Probably the right.
It's a dicey one.
Petkov back up over 10 million.
Runner just looks so easy when other people do it.
Well, it's not just runner.
Runner, and then your opponent not having you beat and also having something they can pay you with.
Right. Right.
A lot of ingredients in that pie.
A lot of stars that need to collide. And 35 of the final table.
So insensitive of me to bring up pie. Sorry, Jamie.
Joe, we got a long way to go, buddy.
Sorrentino with ace-6. Well, Petkov very quickly folded pocket 3s.
I'll allow
Andre
it.
Akari
Oh,
will
jeez.
not be folding pocket 8s.
And Andre Akari is in a middle stack size here. I think the best play is to shove, but it is for a huge amount of chips, 29 big blinds. The problem with 8s is they just play so poorly after the flop. A lot of scary cards that can come out.
It's hard to love a flop with pocket 8s.
Wow.
Another pocket pair.
Wow. So Akari has just called on the button. Sorensen with deuces in the small blind.
He's getting a pretty sweet price here. He does have the big blind left to worry about still. Well, he folds.
So we've seen 3s folded, deuces folded, and Kaufman's got a pair of 4s. Deuces, 3s, 4s, 8s. Sorrentino, the only player without a pair.
And somehow 2 of those pairs folded.
I mean,
Wow.
Kaufman's call makes the most sense because he's closing the action and was getting the best price.
And of course, there's an ace on the flop. Sorrentino now a big favorite in this 3-way pot.
Kaufman and Akari on their way to getting counterfeited.
This is a bit of an example why shoving with the 8s pre-flop is probably the standard play.
Well, this gets checked around. We get a 10 on the turn. Sorrentino now a 9-1 favorite.
Pot control, check, check, keeping it small. Of course, we can see the cards, so we know that the ace-6 is doing extremely well. But in Sorrentino's mind, he does have to worry about a lot of hands.
So every player now has a full house. Sorrentino's is best. He has a lock on this hand. It's been checked to him.
Dealer Daniela handing out pairs like sock day at Yankee Stadium.
And the pot's been played so cautiously up to this point. Andre Akari sitting with the 8s here. He only beats a bluff. An ace is very possible. A 10 is very possible. And we have to remember that Sorrentino did decide to raise in first position all the way before the flop came out. So that means something pretty strong generally. We see it fold.
2 folds.
More boats than Bill Perkins' backyard.
It's a good one. Topical.
Sorrentino hovering around the 30 big blind mark now. Andre Akari officially the shortest stack at the table with 27 big blinds. We're half an hour into this level and we're still 5-handed. If I had a hat, I'd be eating it.
I was going to take the other side of that bet just because I like to do it, but something happened. We had a
Although it's hard for players to go broke when they're not playing hands, and the reality is it's a lot of slow playing. Going back to that last hand, Jamie, Andre, for example, just calling pre-flop with the eights. Sorrentino checking flop, checking turn. Kaufman checking through the streets with monsters.
It's like the opposite of a Mexican standoff. Like, no one's ready to pull their gun just yet.
Which is understandable when everyone's pretty shallow and everyone's pretty evenly stacked and the money jumps are so significant.
Well, you guys fight. You guys shoot each other.
Yeah.
That's the thing about tournament poker. The reward of winning is less than surviving, right? Losing punishes you so much more than winning is a success.
Pocket nines for Petkov.
I mean, I feel like some of these situations would be melting down ICM calculators.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of math in these situations when you study the game and you're looking to improve that you really have to adjust how you play based on, you know, how it would run out if you were to do a bunch of simulations and in an alternative universe, play this hand a billion times, how would it work out?
Right.
Ace-7 of diamonds for Sorrentino. I think Petkov's going to get action. Sorrentino calls, and these two will go to the flop. That flop is king, queen, 6. Only one diamond. Petkov still a big favorite.
Nines are ahead, but you can't like it.
Not a great flop for either player.
I'm pretty impressed with Petkov. For a guy that has less live earnings than he's already made today, he doesn't seem to be outclassed. Seems pretty comfortable as anyone else, I should say.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, he's a professional soccer player. What team is that?
Manchester United.
He plays for Man U?
I think he's just showing his support for Man U.
Well, how did he get his name on the shirt? They don't just do that in a store.
Yes, they do.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to play for the Yankees then.
I mean, this guy plays heads up, sit and goes, and $100 spin and goes online. You need to be a pretty solid player to be making money in those games.
Little Tom Cruise right there. Little danger zone.
So it's tied at the top. Petkov and Sorensen. Akari bringing up the rear with roughly 25 big blinds. Still five-handed with 40 minutes to run at this blind level. Action on Sebastian Sorensen, King Queen. He's raising.
Ace deuce in the big blind. Getting pretty cheap to call here. Sorensen has been playing snug, but I mean, we're five-handed. We have an ace.
You're everybody's problem, Maverick. It's from Top Gun. It was like 20 years before you were born.
Okay.
10-9 deuce on the flop. So a pair of deuces for Petkov. Sorensen with a gut shot, +2 overcards to the board. Action goes check, check. 8 on the turn. Petkov still ahead.
I like that spot from Sorensen. Sorensen doesn't want to bet and potentially get raised with the king-queen. And king-queen also has a lot of great turns where they can either bluff or pick up the best hand.
What about now when you've got like a fair amount of equity here, but maybe not the winner? Do you bet and try to get a better hand to fold, or do you just take a free card?
I think it's a perfect spot to bet, yeah. I think it's very unlikely that King-Queen wins at Showdown. A Jack's a great card. A Queen, a King is a good card. Ace is a decent bluff card. I mean, I like betting.
I guess it's almost like a semi-bluff.
Absolutely. You could be betting with the best hand. You don't know.
Right. Oh, that too. Right. I discount that fact that maybe you do have the best hand already.
But if you check back, it's so difficult to win the pot. You're going to get bluffed, or you're going to have to fold to a, you know.
Petkov folds to the bet. Sorensen wins another one.
I like the delayed C-bet. Sneaky little move. Worked out.
Thorsten says, all this checking reminds me of EPT Copenhagen 2008. Anyone in for a 5-hour plus heads up? Jamie remembers EPT Copenhagen 2008. He was in nursery school.
I was just finding poker in 2008. I missed that one. I'll have to go back into the archives.
What was your introduction to poker? Was it poker on TV, or was it someone showed you online?
It was a combo of poker on TV, and then my brother started playing for play money, and he had more chips than me. Right?
Oh,
and
I
was
remember
like,
this story, yeah.
that's garbage.
This
I got to beat my
This
brother.
is not gonna fly.
I mean,
'Cause
competitive family.
Little brother, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was an older brother. Your little brother, you're just never gonna let him win at anything, ever.
No. The idea that he was better at poker than me, even though we both never played, was unbelievable to me.
How dare you be better at this thing that I have never tried?
So I learned, found PokerStars, and here we are.
I used to play against my little brother at basketball in the driveway, and then if he ever got close to beating me, I would just, punch him. Just flagrant foul him. Still your big brother.
How about the Risk games? Did you ever play like board games during the summer?
We didn't do a lot of board games.
Okay.
Sorrentino wins this pot.
We used to play a little bit of Risk, and everyone in the neighborhood would get together and play. And what I would do is I would manipulate them and try and make deals until they accepted them to win the game. So the game would drag on until someone said yes to my deal, so that I could I
you
could
would
lock it up.
Like refuse to roll or something?
Like, you can't attack me on this border. Binding rule. You can't change
Is that part
it.
of the game?
Yeah. We'd make these binding laws that govern the land.
Wow. If only real life worked that way. Yeah,
Am I a
that's
terrible person.
I didn't get to play Risk because it was only just me and my brother most of the time, and so like board games heads up, I don't find that fun.
Right.
This is hand 39, and under the gun raise from Brian Kaufman opens to 7,000 with Jack 10. Andre Akare has 10-7 of clubs in the small blind.
It's another close one. Could consider putting in the 3-bet here. Sitting on 7.7 million, 25 big blinds. Can put a lot of pressure on because it puts Kaufman in a spot where they either have to shove or fold.
I like 10-7 as a 3-betting hand out of the small blind. It's not, you don't have to worry about like ruining its value by if you somehow have to fold it. If you get called, yeah, you're out of position, but you can make some cool disguised hands with it.
Well, Andre obviously likes that option as well because he is re-raising.
And a lot of times you're just going to win it pre-flop.
Andre's made it 2,050,000.
It's not like when you 3-bet aces and everyone folds and you're disappointed. You're like, oh, cool, everyone folded.
Sorensen with 8-7.
Sorensen seems to take a bit of time every 3-bet pot. I'm wondering if that's a concerted effort by him to
don't 3-bet me, bro.
yeah, to prepare for those 3-bet situations.
¿De cuánto son las pilas verdes? ¿Cuántas fichas?
Kaufman asking for a count.
And being
Probably-
reminded by the dealer that when a hand is in progress, it is English only at the table.
Probably just an honest mistake. And Kaufman may be trying to figure out if Andre has committed himself to this pot, if he would fold to a shove.
I think this is just a fold for Kaufman. I mean, Jack 10 offsuit here. There it is. Akari showing experience in the situation, putting the aggression on, not afraid of these pay jumps.
Yeah.
It's working out.
Jim Murphy on Twitter with a very cool Top Gun poker mashup reference. Petkoff over there looking a little cruisy. Jim Murphy says, talk to me, Deuce. I like it. You should see Top Gun, Jamie.
Okay,
It's a good movie.
I'll Google it.
So we've mentioned that Andre Akari is a member of Team Pro. We've talked about his World Series of Poker bracelet. He won that in 2011. Should also point out that on PokerStars, he has amassed more than $3.4 million in online tournament winnings. He's won the Sunday 500. He's won the Sunday warm-up. And in live tournaments, his winnings total $1.6 million.
Fold to me, Goose.
He's got ace-10 here on the button.
That is a hand.
Andre raises it to 650,000. Sorensen with Jack 5 in the small blind.
This would be a bad time to go after the button raise. He does not.
Kaufman with 8 deuce of spades in the big blind.
Jamie, I'm looking at you. Well, I mean, this seems... I'd probably admit because I would just fold
I
this,
think
but
folding is a good option. It is a suited hand. You could almost see that in the way that he grabbed the cards there, too. It looked like he wanted to fold, but then he put them in there.
Suit up.
Heads up to the flop. And that flop is ace-queen 4 with 2 spades.
Wow.
So top pair for Andre. The spade draw for Kaufman.
So Akari with a pretty nice hand here. Definitely can get some value.
If you're Kaufman, you're committed to 2 streets now, though.
What we're seeing here, this is just, at final tables, this is the sick stuff. Because if you're Akari, and you know you have 60%, you probably don't even want to get it in with 60%.
This
Just
bet's
because of how
only
the
a
other
third of the
stacks are.
pot, too. What do we think about that?
I think that's fine. I think it's okay.
Board pairs on the turn. The queen of hearts.
Ace of spades on the river. Ace of spades.
Vamos.
Vamos.
Oh, this is interesting. Having check called on the flop, Kaufman leads the turn.
Oh, man, I don't know about this line, Jamie. Is anyone really leading here with a queen?
I'm taking devil's advocate, Joe. I like it,
Okay.
man. I like
You
it.
like
And here's
it.
the reason, because Akari would not bet a queen on the flop. So it's becoming a really common strategy for when the second and the third card pair
Okay.
for the person to take initiative that just called the c-bet.
But are you balanced? Do you take the initiative when you do have the queen?
Well, you should. That
Okay.
would be the approach.
I don't think people are balanced.
No, they're not. That's poker, though,
I
right?
think
That's poker is figuring
everybody-
that out.
Especially the way Kaufman's been playing. He's checked everything that he's had. All his made hands.
That's an interesting observation, and now he's got a draw. Now
He's got 8 high.
well, he's semi-bluffing.
Doesn't look very comfortable here.
Well, if anyone's going to pick up on that, it's Andre, who we can see is a 4-1 favorite to win this hand. 2 pairs, aces and queens, beating Kaufman's flush draw.
I mean, I do like it in one respect in that you kind of get out of having to call. a big bet and then miss, and then you're left with 8 high.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think Kaufman has a hand that he can check call if you were to check. So the option is to check fold, check shove, or throw out this lead, which I think is kind of cool. Like you said, you need to have some good hands though too, or it's too readable. And it's a legitimately difficult spot for Andre Akari. It's a situation where Kaufman either has a bluff or a better hand.
I just wonder, has Andre been getting information about the hands that have taken place prior to this? Has he seen how slow he's played?
There's the fold.
Even if so, look at you, Jamie Staples. You like the move worked out.
Kaufman takes the pot off Akari. The bluff gets through. Kaufman up to 11.5 million. Akari drops down to 7.6 million, 25 big blinds. And Kaufman is now chip leader once again. Jamie, we're going to give you a break from the booth. Thank you so much for the analysis, especially on that last hand. We'll see you back on the stream very shortly.
See you soon.